Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next session. My name is Eric Wolf, and I am really excited to introduce to you Rodrigo Pacheca, also from Ecuador, who is going to be talking about regenerative gastronomy to the rescue. And this ties in very nicely with our theme of the culinary travel in a post-COVID era, because this is a new trend that we're seeing, is this idea of regenerative gastronomy. And in fact, Rodrigo's work is so important that he's gotten the attention of chefs like Michelin star chef Johan Roca, and also the Netflix team. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Rodrigo, and let you tell your story.
Thank you very much, Eric, for this amazing opportunity to share, not only for me, but for other panelists, to share on these important issues that become an essential part of the functioning of today's tourism, which is not the same than before the COVID, clearly. And this is why we will tell you this story. I'm gonna talk through the how I created Boca Valdivia, which is a very small restaurant in the southern coast of Ecuador that served only for 12 guests at the time. And so far it seems so simple, but 10 years ago, when we started Boca Valdivia, we started planting some trees in a ecosystem that you see behind me that was completely degraded. And of course, during these 10 years, we have been able to see a real forest actually grow around us, an edible forest, because we have chosen to plant and to cultivate edible species in the first place, and with a catalog of over 200 species of trees and plants that are mostly native to Ecuador. So this is the story of how a small restaurant in the middle of nowhere in the southern coast of Ecuador, in a beautiful place called Puerto Cayo, has been able to create an impact that is worth listening to. And it has also been recognized by different establishments and ways and recognitions all over the world. One, because I am United Nations FAO Goodwill Ambassador for Latin America. And this is also a great platform for that also reflects my vision and my values, and the fact that gastronomy for me, it is an important tool to convey a message and to also to nourish a greater purpose that for me is the good health of the ecosystems around me. So this 12 people restaurant started planting some trees around and started creating this dynamic of the same team that is preparing the food. We also started approaching the shore and started taking some fish in an artisanal way out of the ocean, and this started becoming a habit for us. And every time we feel this pride of bringing back to our kitchen all the elements that we needed to perform our tasting menus, a 7-course tasting menu where we gather almost 100% of the ingredients with our hands. So this became a very special transformational experience through gastronomy for the guests that have been here from over 90 countries, but also for us as a team. Considering that my team in Boca Valdivia, 100% of my team is, they haven't finished primary school yet. Of course, they didn't get any hospitality or culinary background or anything related to that. So they started from zero. But what we see now is these people performing, doing artisanal fishing, doing the foraging of native plants, and doing also the cultivation and the harvest of the edible plants. And then also the same people are preparing the food, and they are serving food, and they're also building this place. So we're talking about a way of life that we sort of became this environmental healthy group. I wouldn't want to name the word cult, but you know, it's very similar, and it's very leaded to a very positive way of this word. And now what we have achieved is that this small restaurant is now protecting 107 hectares of highly biodiverse edible forest through the region, and also expanded to Quito, because we're opening a restaurant in Quito in the upcoming month named Foresta. And the first thing we did also is expand the biggest edible forest in the world that we have been implementing. So this 12-seat restaurant has been increasing biodiversity, has been restoring ecosystem, has been taking care of inviting the community to work, to perform, to learn about culinary arts, to learn about hospitality. And also this team has been recognized in huge platforms all over the world, such as Netflix, such as CNN, such as FAO, such as the documentary with the Roca brothers about biodiversity. And recently, a month ago, we were part of the honorees of the Travel Vision Awards of Travel and Leisure. So we're constantly being recognized because of this work. And yet we are in the middle of nowhere. So I wonder what could difference and what impact could make a restaurant that is making much more sales than us. What impact can a big hotel chain make in terms of retribution to the environment, to the culture, to the good quality of life of the people? If we, as a small restaurant with 12 guests, we're able to harvest our own ingredients, to teach the local people, and to impact so far 107 hectares. Each hectare is a 10,000 square meter piece of forest, and we're talking about 107 hectares so far, and the reach that we want to get to is a 2,000 hectare biocorridor, because it's not just an orchard to obtain food. We're actually capturing carbon. We're actually reconciliating with wildlife. We're preserving water resources. We're creating opportunities for nutrition, for shelter, for medicine, for materials, economic opportunities, art, inspiration. And in other words, we're solving the biggest and toughest problems that the world is facing right now, all related to our behaviors, to our habits, and to climate change. And this is malnutrition, this is desertification, this is the loss of biodiversity, this is global warming, this is all these important problems that are affecting the whole world, and that we, when we create an edible forest, we're solving big part of these problems. So it's really interesting to see this happening, and to have been seeing it during the past 10 years. And it's important that you also picture it and imagine it, but also you can reach our social media through Instagram. You can reach also our website, bocavaldivia.earth, and then you will see our everyday, how we forage, how we prepare the food, how we integrate the community, and the impact we're creating. So this biocorridor that we have been creating started in the coastline, and now we're going through different types of forests and towards a Piemontano Garua forest, which has an enormous amount of animals, variety of deer and mammals, and huge amount of birds, monkeys. But in the coastline, there's this amazing also coral forest, ancient forest, and the humpback whales come every year here in the last part of June, and they stay for 3 months to breed and to give birth. So I'm in constant contact with the wildlife. I'm in constant contact with this territory by going from west to east through this biocorridor, because we cannot afford to lose connection from the ocean. And this is what's happening. We're getting all these projects that take over the coastline, and then whatever happens behind, it kind of loses value and kind of loses hope. And then it's really expensive, whatever happens in the coast. And this, in terms of biology, it kind of isolates the animals, it kind of kills their ecosystem, their environment. So it's an unsustainable pattern that we're facing, and we need to transform it into a virtuous circle. And this is what we're doing. So we're buying small plots of land, we're putting them together, creating this biocorridor, this bio network that starts in the ocean and that ends in the Garua forest. We already have the start, the Tanusas, 25 hectares. And from there, we have been building on buying land and restoring three hectares here, 5 hectares there, 21 hectares here, 45 hectares there, 1 hectare there. And that's how we have been growing our land bank of edible forests. And so far is 107 hectares. Would you like to support this? Would you like to be part of implementing the biggest edible forest in the world? Well, follow us and make your contribution. But also, you can also design your own solution. And this is the important message that I want to share today with you. This is not about only sharing my story and the beautiful part. It's also sharing some mistakes I might have made that made me understand things in a better way, and especially make a call to action to try to inspire a few of you in order for you to take some actions and don't stay with crossed arms when the United Nations is telling us that we have 60 harvests left. What should we do? We should do something. We should try to contain climate change. And how do we do it? Well, we start in our own circle. We start in our family circle. We start in our company circle. We start talking about it. You don't need to be a scientist to talk about it. Look, I am a chef, and I have been working with scientists for the past 10 years, and I am proudly talking and very loud about climate change, and I have a right as a human. I don't need to be a scientist. I don't need to be a specialist in weather, in science for me to defend my rights as a human in order to live in a clean world, and also to provide solutions into my environment for us to create a better world. Let's stop pointing to the authorities, stop pointing the major, stop pointing everywhere. Look into your own behaviors, look into your own habits, and you will find that if you change a few things within your habits, within your everyday actions, you're actually contributing quite a lot to contain climate change, and especially when we talk about the food. So I'm talking about a lot of years of experience here, and I want to say that it's not only about cooking and preparing delicious and beautiful food. I think there's a big amount of chefs that can do that all over the world. For me, it's interesting to transform. It's interesting for me that the creativity is adapted to today's needs, and the culinary art provides a solution. It's actually a way to transmit knowledge and wisdom to the future generations to create a better world. To live in harmony with our ecosystem. So this is what gastronomy means for me as a person. It means also for my team. And from this little corner in the world, we have been doing a great impact for the planet, for the local communities, even for us, for our families, for the culinary world. So this is an invitation for you also, as I said, to support our programs, to contribute to keep implementing the biggest edible forests in the world, to come visit us, to come to Ecuador, to come see what we do, to be part of our experience. We do 5-day experience. We do also 10-day experience where people from all over the world come, and each day we do foraging. Another day we do artisanal fishing. We do permaculture, and then we do ethnobotany. We create the vessels and the dishes and the utensils for the food. And then we do, of course, some great cooking. And the last day is a huge day of tasting and of delightment with all the things we have gathered together and all the experience we have gathered together. So this is a new way to live gastronomy, not only to go to a restaurant to eat and to feed our bellies, but to be part of this transformational experience where you actually prepare your body, your soul, and spirit before you eat, before you are served a food that is fresh, that is authentic, that is clean of industrial ingredients, that is clean of texturizers, that is clean of colorants, that is clean of any artificial elements that can pollute the pureness of nature, the beauty that already comes in the different manifestations of nature that we have access in a globalized world. Biodiversity is a gift for us, for families, for chefs especially. Yet I see a lot of menus all over the world repeating the same products. The world is going after 20 type of crops, and there are about 300,000 species of plants that the science has already been able to recognize all over the world, from which 30,000 come from Ecuador, because Ecuador represents 0.2% of the Earth's surface, but holds 10% of all plant species in the planet. So of all those 30,000 species that rely and that live here in Ecuador, we have 8,000 that are actually edible. 8,000 type of plants. Yet we're following 20 crops, and the world is creating a huge climatic problem because of these 20 crops. So we should go back to biodiversity. Sometimes they ask me, what's the menu you serve? Like, what's the type of food? And I answer biodiversity. And I express it from the beginning to the end of the menu. I express it biodiversity of ecosystems, biodiversity of species, biodiversity, genetic biodiversity, and also cultural biodiversity. And all this is part of the ingredients that take place into this experience. Sometimes the guests participate in these activities for the gastronomic experience, and it's nice to see them walking and fishing and living, actually understanding how their food is getting into their plates. And so we're doing the trail, and sometimes it takes an hour for doing this trail within the biggest edible forest in the world. And sometimes, especially teenagers are very, very tired, and they say, "Mom, I thought we were going to a restaurant." I was hearing because I'm the guide of this experience, and I'm also fishing. And then I arrive to the kitchen and I prepare a 7-course menu for each person. So I see these transformation, these layers on how people start becoming more humble after the walk, after the experience. And then there's an essential ingredient when they arrive. Guess what? Hunger. Because if you're not hungry, how are you going how are you supposed to enjoy the food that you're going to eat? So hunger has been a great ingredient for our culinary experiences, and making people fish and walk, it definitely makes them hungry, and they definitely explore a new sensation of absorbing all these nutriments, all this information that is coming through the food. Because a product is not only a product that arrives there and has nutritional values, it also has stories, nutritional information. It has a genealogical past, it has a cultural background, an anthropological background, a medicinal content. And this is how we express the food in a deep way, because we are able to follow the cycle of life of the plants that are around us. And this is the reason why I think this profession of being a chef in this way that I chose to be is quite shamanic. And I would like to clean out the name of shamans, because in today's world, we might see the shaman as maybe as someone respectful, but sometimes we see it some guy giving hallucinogenic plants to people. And then sometimes in different parts of the world, there are like very young people that claim to be shamans and healers, and we're in this world. But actually, this has been polluted. But for you to understand, in the ancient world, around 3,500 years ago, Ecuador was one of the most active shamanist places in the world. There was a lot of ceremony going on here, and the shaman was the elite of the society. He was playing four essential roles that the shaman was playing in the ancient world. He was the astronomer. He was the one who knew the cycle of life of plants, so he was doing the agriculture. He was also doing the hunting and the rituals of initiation, and he was also doing the healing. Of course, we don't do hunting in today's activity, but we do follow the steps of the shaman. So the shaman knows about the cosmos, the shaman knows about the agriculture, the shaman knows about obtaining the food, and the shaman knows about healing. So after 10 years of walking through this, literally, I gave the shaman a new, or maybe an ancient responsibility. Because if the shaman was able to see the agriculture, to understand the weather, to gather the food and to heal, he was probably the chef of the community. And this is what I try to rescue. this fifth responsibility of the ancient shaman might have been to prepare the food. What food, how it was served, under what style or amount. This is my own interpretation, and this is coming to Boca Valdivia is trying to recreate coming to the house of the shaman. So when you come, he and his team have already prepared everything. There's no menu. The guests are hardly lifting their hands to ask for something. Everything is there. Before even you ask for it, everything is there. And this is how we try to provide a service, an experience. We are a restaurant where we as chefs approach the people with an open heart in a humble way, and I think this is the role of the chef, because sometimes chefs are playing the role of going out in the dining room, literally floating as dressed in white and everything, and it's nice and it's respectful, and I also feel it. But it's also nice to be feet on the ground. It's also nice to see the people in the eyes. It's also nice to open your heart and smile, and also to share the truth of what you're saying with everyone that is visiting you. And this is an experience that is actually regenerative for people. And I'm talking about all these with you today because, as the subject is saying, it is regenerative gastronomy to the rescue. So I wonder again, and I want you to think about this question: if a 12-seat restaurant located in the southern coast of Ecuador is able to protect 107 hectares of edible forest, and all the animals that live there, what can a big hotel chain do for a forest? What can a big restaurant or bigger restaurant can do to protect 1 hectare? One, not 107, one. See? So are we going to do something? I can show you how I cook too. I can show you how quick I can chop my aromatic herbs that I planted. You want to see that? Or you want to see me trying to invite you to become a solution to a problem that is knocking to our doors right now, which is the climate change and the climate problem. And we are actually not opening the door. We don't want to listen. We don't want to talk about it. And of course, we don't want to do anything. We have lost connection with nature. I can go to the city. I enjoy the city, but in 3 days, I am willing to come back to this. I don't like walls. I don't like cars, noisy things. I like nature. And it's time for people to reconnect with nature, to regain their space in nature in an harmonious way with the living beings that live around us. This is what we should do as professionals today. This is our role, not to make beautiful and delicious food. This is a must, but our role is not to do it. Our role is to transform. Our role is to make sure that our team has a better quality of life every day. We have to make sure that our team is happy, because we need happy food for the guests to be happy, for the house to be happy, and then for the world to be happy. This is a chain of honor. This is a 360 degrees of honor system. I actually patented that brand. I'm going to create a startup that is going to certify, as we have the Michelin Guide and the 50 Best and the God Millot and the Repsol and the Forks and all this. I would like to create a certification for all restaurants and hotels that it's called 360 degrees of honor. Because you can be honorable with your guests, but maybe you are treating your team really badly. Or maybe you're treating your team really, really well, but you're treating your family really badly, or your community, or nature, or your providers. So are you honorable in a 360-degree scale? This is what we want to encourage. This is the certification I'm going to start up, and then see and try to also channel a lot of those stamps in most of the restaurants in the world. That's a great way to contain climate change. And then it's not so far. Don't look for a consultancy to see how to improve your restaurant. Just go on the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. That is clear information. It's only 17 of them that will guide you through how to become part of a solution for today's world before 2030, of course. It's not like you have all your life to do it. We have less than 8 years to lower the carbon emissions to a 50%. And this is what the agenda is all about. But also the SDGs are talking about eliminating all kinds of poverty. They're talking about gender equality. They're talking about nature protection. They're talking about creating alliances in order to create more solutions. Go and look after them. They're very easy, and make sure you install them. You can even install the logos in your establishment so your guest is sure that he's entering a place that is already aware of the world situation and is already taking actions to overcome or to contain that situation. That is a restaurant I want to go in. I want to go into a restaurant that is providing food that is not harming anyone or any ecosystem. I choose to go to that restaurant. What restaurant do you choose to go to? What food do you choose to buy? Have you thought about producing your own food? You know how easy it can be? Of course, you say, yes, I live in New York, I live in Mumbai, I live in Santiago de Chile, I live in Madrid. Any city, wherever there's a window, it can grow a plant of aloe vera. And with aloe vera, we make at least 20 different recipes in Boca Valdivia. Also, if you live in the city, there's also the outside part of the city is the countryside, right? Everywhere. Why don't you go and talk to the people there? You're going to find an elderly couple. You're going to find an elderly lady that has the chance to have a small piece of land, but she doesn't have the strength or the economic strength to install the cultivation of this, but she has the land. Why don't you make an alliance with her? So you rent her place, you rent her plot for an amount that is going to make her have a extremely decent quality of life, and you're going to be able to grow your food, maybe you and your friends and your neighbor, and then problem solved, and then you also create an experience with your children, with other members of the family, to make them participate. Kids today, they don't know what's the difference between an onion and a tomato, and we need to change this. How? Let's make them participate. Kids, they don't want to eat. I was in Tanusa's hotel for 10 years, seeing kids from all over the world saying, I don't give my kid the food without any greens, any vegetable, please, just pasta and olive oil. I remember all these come to my mind right now. Why? Why are kids not eating? Why? Have you asked yourself why? Because they don't like the food they're eating. Would you eat some food that you don't like? Would you? No one would, right? Well, we have to improve our chef skills at home and make sure that we prepare something so delicious and so well thought and so healthy and so creative that the kids are going to love it. That's how we have to approach food. The table in a beautiful way, looking ourselves into the eyes, phones into a basket, TVs off, radios with news, with bad news off. We're going to talk to the family. We're going to make agreements. We're going to make it playful. We're going to learn and to share. This is how we approach the food. And sometimes it's not about being vegan or eating a hamburger. Sometimes it goes beyond that. Yes, of course, we need to choose the food that is healthy and that is not harming. Yes, but sometimes it's better to eat a hamburger and look the hamburger into the eyes and make yourself happy and connect with it than eating a beautiful salad organic, but looking into your phone while you eat it. What's worst? What's best? See? So all this questioning is part of who we are and who we should be and how we should improve our behaviors in order to make a better world. In these 30 minutes that I have been sharing with you about this experience of creating the biggest edible forest in the world that is still in implementation, of inviting you to participate, to cooperate with us, also to inspiring you to create your own solution for the world's problems, and also talk about gastronomy, to talk about food as a medicine, as a way of therapy, as a way of healing, as a way of manifestation of the cultural values of a country, of a region, of a territory. A good restaurant is able to enlighten the street, the neighborhood, the city, the whole country, or the whole world, hopefully. So a good reflection on this for all of you today. I have shared with passion about this crazy experience, that it has been quite a nice walk for me, to being able to be 10 years abroad, working in Michelin star restaurants with some of the best chefs in the world, and then 10 years in the countryside, immersed in nature, understanding the cycle of life of everything that is around myself, and also understanding the cycle of life of my own. And this is very healthy, and this is very metaphoric, and this is how creativity is nourished and is cultivated as a muscle that stays strong, that stays healthy for as long as we are alive. It doesn't expire as long as you're nourishing it with this experience, with these collections, like my personal collection of sites. I cross sites with wild animals in their wild environment, and this collection of sites with monkeys, with whales, with deer, even with a snake, with a frog, or this is my best and most precious collection that I have been collecting, I think, through all my life. And I'm passing it through my sons, Marino and Florian, and I'm passing it through my family as a legacy, because it's not only about making money, it's about making history happen, making something that is going to be remembered, making honor the main issue, and not only money the main issue. These are thoughts that I've been learning after being in contact with nature, with animals, learning from them, learning from indigenous wisdom, learning from natural wisdom, and then having my own interpretation and providing the world with my own vision of how to solve the problems. But in this vision, everyone is invited to participate. Everyone can be part. Physically, you can help from where you're sitting at the moment. You can come be part. You can come work the earth with us. You can come learn how to take fish and how to prepare it with us. Make sure you reconnect with nature, and make sure Boca Valdivia is an opportunity for you to do so. I am very grateful for this opportunity today, and I'm also very happy to answer any questions someone might have today. Thank you for this amazing opportunity to share.
Rodrigo, thank you very much. Where you are working and living right now, it just looks like an absolute dream. I agree with you about the need to get back to nature. I think cities have just gone off the deep end a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to, we do have some questions that we've prepared ahead of time that I'd like to ask you. And also at this time, I'd like to encourage anyone else who would like to ask you some questions to go ahead and put that in the Q&A. But for the first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your role as the FAO Goodwill Ambassador? How did that get started? And what kind of impact do you think you're having in Latin America in that particular role?
Thank you, Eric. For me, to have become the Goodwill Ambassador for FAO is quite an honor. I think it's one of the highest honors I have been able to obtain as a chef and as a person. And for me, is an opportunity to serve, is an opportunity to inspire other people, is an opportunity to make a call to action. And this is what I've been doing, promoting the different causes of FAO, such as the International Year of Plant Health, the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture, and also to become part of different promotions and values that FAO is taking place. And also, as an example of impact, we landed a grant with forest facilities through FAO And with this grant, we actually created an edible forest in the local school. A 1 hectare highly biodiverse edible forest that has actually classrooms inside the forest, and we created this with the FAO direction for this grant. So this is kind of the impact that we're facing. Also, when Joan Roca came, and I was invited to be part of this documentary. It was FAO who approached Joan Roca to me, and then I was invited to the restaurant with my wife in a beautiful and unforgettable invitation to these 3 Michelin star, and not only for the how fancy can sound, but for the purpose they have. So I hope you have an answer on that.
Fantastic, thank you. You're a great example of a community leader and taking care of everything and everyone around you, but how do you deal with that it must be an enormous amount of pressure?
Yes, I think we're chefs in general, we're pressure handlers and we're problem solvers. And this is how the nature of our work. We live under pressure, and what we try to do is to shift between this destructive pattern into a virtuous circle, considering the action of all stakeholders. And sometimes we might think a certain stakeholder or member of the community, for example, a big company that seems to be polluting, and you might think, no, this is not my friend. Like I have nothing to talk with these guys. But I have learned with experience that you must draw small lines of cooperation, even very thin lines of cooperation with these bad guys, with these also the stakeholders that are also part of this functioning of this community. So, and then at some point you start pointing the attention, so they start retributing to the community, to the school. So you start becoming this igniter for other companies, and then that small line might become a bigger pipeline farther up in the road. So I think this is a good example for that. And pressure is there, but also is how we deal with it, and how we transform negative things into good opportunities.
True. And you also don't have to deal with traffic and cars honking at you, so that helps.
Of course.
So I'd like to ask you the same question we asked Alejandra. We were asking about helping to brand Ecuadorian food and Ecuador as a gastronomy destination. We asked her what she thought would be a good iconic food for Ecuador, much like how tacos are known for Mexico or pasta and pizza in Italy. What would you say should be the main Ecuadorian food?
I always answer one answer, and it's called biodiversity. That's the signature of Ecuadorian food. Because if I name one fruit, if I name one ingredient, if I name one recipe, and we have 47 ecosystems in Ecuador, we have 17 indigenous nationalities in Ecuador, we have probably the highest genetic variety of fruits in the world. So why would I choose one? So I choose the whole pack. And this whole pack is called biodiversity.
One of the things that I was saying was that Ecuador is one country and five experiences, because you've got the jungle, you've got the coast, you've got the mountains, you've got the city, and you have the remote islands. And I think that a lot of people don't really know of all the different opportunities that Ecuador offers.
Yes, Ecuador is yet a country that is still growing in terms of tourism. But I think Boca Valdivia has played a nice role especially in the region, creating opportunities for people to visit the country from different parts of the world. I think gastronomy has a great power to ignite tourism, and I think tourism, if it's managed in a positive way, is a great tool for communities in today's world that can be adapted to situations such as COVID or such as different natural or social crises. Or climate crisis that we might face. Yeah.
Okay. So we do have a question here. For the people that travel to see the forest and eat with you as tourists, where are they mostly coming from? And do you get many local or regional tourists, or are they mostly international?
Actually, we have got people from 90 countries in the world. There's always this good balance between locals and people from all over the world. This is a good statistic because it is good to be known by the locals, but it's also good to have international recognition. Yeah. Also, it's good to have international recognition, but it's also positive for the locals to be able to enjoy it. So we kind of found that good balance.
Yeah. Are you noticing any changes in travel behavior right now? Because as COVID started to end, people had all this pent up demand. They wanted to go and go and go. And then the situation in Ukraine happened. And then people were saying, no, we better stay close to home. So we saw this huge surge of people wanting to travel, and people just kind of paused for a minute. What are you seeing there in Ecuador?
Well, actually, as part of the bioeconomy project that we created in this natural destination, in this edible forest, we created a project of lifestyle. So there's a hotel, there's a lifestyle project. So we start building houses, and it was like a starting project that during the pandemic, it actually got sold out because people wanted to reach the isolated places, wanted to live in harmony with nature. So a lot of people sort of woke up into what they were doing, their habits there, and they decided to move or to have a house on the beach. And then we sold the whole first stage during the pandemic. And before that, we have only been able to sell one or two units. Even if the scale we do is very small, the density of the project is really, really small. There's 70% of green areas. So we have recovered 35 hectares of dry forest.
Okay. We do have one more question. This is going to have to be our last one. Are there similar inspirational projects in other parts of the world that have served as a source of inspiration for you? And what did you take away from those projects or examples?
Yes, I'm very, very good for being inspired by the people that are doing a great job, no matter where they are. I was nominated by CNN, and I was invited to be guest editor for a series that is called Call to Earth. So I was the guest editor for 3 series that we produced, and one of them is it was Boca Valdivia. So you can find it. You can find a nice story in all the CNN platform about Boca Valdivia, and then after that, it kind of got into a huge reach, and it kind of the message started spreading a bit more on this subject. So I think we have quite an interesting press kit that supports this initiative that we have been taking place. And these stories allowed me also to, when I was part of being guest editor for CNN, yes, one was Boca Valdivia, but then we curated 2 other stories. And for that, we also make a selection of a lot of projects all over the world that were planting algae in different regions. Some other were doing solar techniques of cooking. Some other Amazonian projects were creating food cells to reproduce local fish. So I was inspired by a lot of projects in the world through this experience of being guest editor and reviewing all these projects in order to showcase 3 of them. But I would like to visit more. Of course, the pandemic was a limit for traveling, but I can name projects and national parks and edible forests everywhere in the world, and it's nice to go out and see it. I would say.
Wonderful. Well, Rodrigo, thank you very much for your inspiring words, and you're doing great work. Keep it up. And I sincerely hope that we can have an opportunity to work more closely together. I don't know if you know this, but we have a sustainability practice area here in the association. And we also cultivated a partnership with an organization in Madrid called Eco Foodies, and it's a new kind of a certification for restaurants. And they really put some really strict criteria in place for restaurants to be able to say that they are sustainable. And maybe, you were talking about your own kind of certification about the honor thing. Maybe there's a way to collaborate on that. I'm just thinking because what the guys in Madrid is doing is very good. What you're doing is very interesting. And I love to connect people, right? I think there's always ways to connect and cross-pollinate things and come up with something that's even better and even more useful for the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for this amazing platform. And I hope I have reached the soul of a few of you, and then actions are going to be taken after this.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Rodrigo. Organization in Madrid called Eco Foodies, and it's a new kind of a certification for restaurants. And they really put some really strict criteria in place for restaurants to be able to say that they are sustainable. And maybe, you were talking about your own kind of certification about the honor thing. Maybe there's a way to collaborate on that. I'm just thinking because what the guys in Madrid is doing is very good. What you're doing is very interesting. And I love to connect people, right? I think there's always ways to connect and cross-pollinate things and come up with something that's even better and even more useful for the world. So thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for this amazing platform. And I hope I have reached the soul of a few of you, and then actions are going to be taken after this.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Rodrigo.